What's going on, my Flabby family? It's your boy Izzy. Welcome if you're new. So we have a couple things to go over, man. I just want to play some of this nonsense that L is saying once again about Caitlin Clark. And then, of course, we have a mindset issue with some of the fans over there for Connecticut as a man is hired, and they're having an issue with that, I guess. We're about to get all the way into it, but before we do that, y'all make sure you hit the thumbs up for your boy if you like the content, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 17K by the end of the day, so if you can help me out with that, I highly appreciate it. And don't forget to get in the comment section and let me know what y'all think about this. Let's get it. All right, so speaking on the L situation, she started the segment here off in like a very seraphic voice, and she was like, oh yeah, you know, we're all giddy and friends and everything's good over here in the WNBA and the ESPN, right? Moving forward from that, she ended up talking about how Paige ended up getting a shoe deal before Caitlin Clark, and she got a shoe manufactured and all that good stuff, and how people was having a big problem with that, and she was just saying people should chill out. When one is gaining something, the other one is not losing, and she was saying like with Paige and Caitlin Clark, right? Now get past all that. This is where it started to get a little asinine for me, all right? So I'm going to play this, and then we'll talk about it.
And the thing that you have to know about Paige Bueckers is that, like, what you see is what you get. She is actually that cool in person.
Mhm.
She is actually that chill. She is actually that smart, and what's the word that I'm looking for when she's like very wise beyond her years. And I think that similarly, when we talk about Caitlin and her ability to handle the pressure of being Caitlin Clark, all that comes with it. I mean, these are young women,
Mhm.
and they are superstars and they are businesses apart from being student athletes. And I think they both have handled it in such an incredible way. The attention, the adversity. There's been more adversity for Paige than there has been for Caitlin, just in terms of trying to stay on the court. I mean, Paige has been hampered with devastating injuries. I firmly believe that the biggest star on the planet would be Paige Bueckers if she had stayed healthy throughout
Uh,
her college run instead of sort of stopping and starting. Um, but she is, in my mind, going to be one of those stars that 10, 15 years from now, just like a LeBron James. We talk about this young girl from Minnesota who popped on everybody's radar as a 15 year old and handled the immense pressure it takes to be Paige Bueckers, just in the most brilliant of ways. And she is like, UConn is a huge storyline this year
yeah,
because this feels like the year that it has to happen for her. This is the best, should they stay healthy, this is the best
sure.
opportunity that Paige has had to win a national championship despite playing in one her sophomore year. So I think in terms of like both of them, when I think about the similarities of Paige and Caitlin, their games couldn't be more different. But I think in terms of how they internalize all this attention, how they handle the moment, how they know that they are front facing public figures, but how they show up for their teammates and then how they handle all of this, I think is really remarkable and something that we probably don't talk about enough.
Now, honestly, I do not feel like if Paige was to stay healthy, she would have been bigger than Caitlin Clark. I do not believe that. If Paige was healthy and putting up the numbers that she's putting up right now, yeah, it would have been outstanding. But for Caitlin Clark to do what she was doing and breaking all those records, no. Caitlin Clark would have still been the alpha dog, okay? And I'm not even insulting her here. I'm just saying Caitlin would be top dog, all right? That's just plain and simple, man. Like, cut it out. I do agree that, you know, Paige getting her shoes first don't mean Caitlin is losing anything. I do think it's weird. It's very weird. I would have went with Caitlin Clark stuff first, but I don't think that's gonna lessen anything with Caitlin Clark. Her shoes are probably gonna be doing better than everybody else's shoes. I'm not gonna lie. That shoe might sell out. Now I'm glad she said Paige dealt with more adversity when it comes to injuries or staying on the court because, fam, she hasn't dealt with anything. I feel Caitlin Clark has been dealing with. Caitlin Clark has been dealing with a whole lot going into the W, man. I mean, a whole nother stratosphere beyond basketball. Okay, so I think she's been dealing with a whole lot more. So I'm glad she did say when it comes to staying on the court.
It's a little bit about, for me, with Paige and Caitlin, and the difference in whether you think one is a better player than other is really just comes down to your taste preference and what you like in a player. And I like when someone says Steph Curry is their favorite player more so than a LeBron. I can 100% understand why they make that argument. I don't think it takes away from either one of them, but they're different players. And Steph and Caitlin are much more similar. And I would say that Paige and LeBron are much more similar in terms of efficiency, the defensive part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like the well-roundedness of the game, but that doesn't take away from the legacy player that Steph is. And I think similarly, what Steph was able to do, which is what Caitlin's been able to do for a lot of young girls, is they see themselves in her. You don't have to be 6'8". You don't have to look, Caitlin's as athletic as they come, but you don't have to look necessarily the part, right? Like all these kids grew up thinking, well, I could be an NBA player if I could shoot deep threes, right? Because Steph did, because he doesn't have the prototypical body, because he's this, because he seems like a reg. And I think that she's been able to do that as well. Paige is a little bit more of like a LeBron in my mind in terms of just getting the full package, defensive efficiency, her ability to dish, which we already know, Caitlin is supreme at, but I just think it's more of the well-rounded package. Anyway, apart from just those two, because we're talking about Caitlin Clark, who's not even in the women's college basketball.
Correct.
Now she really done bumped their head with that one, man. I mean, how can you sit there and say that Paige is more like LeBron and say that because of the more well-rounded game, but then you start naming the things Caitlin Clark does, which sounds well-rounded, and you say, well, anyway. Didn't Carmelo do the same thing? I know people like to take shots at her defense because it's not the best part of her game, but she will still give you top 20 defense. Her numbers aren't that far from what Paige is doing when it comes to defense. She averaged like 2 steals a game as well as Paige. She averaged about 2 steals. This year, I think she averaging like 2.6. We can round that up to 3 if you want. But the blocks, they look very similar. They look very similar, man. 1 block a game, Caitlin Clark averaged in college, basically. And Paige is pretty much doing the same thing. I see what she's saying as far as LeBron and Steph are 2 different players, and they have 2 different games. Okay, I get that. I would say Caitlin is still more similar to LeBron because if you think about what she was doing in college, she's like top 5 or top 3 when it comes to the triple doubles of all time in points and assists, and then the facilitating, right? And then if we think about the facilitating, LeBron is a facilitator. Although he scores and he has the scoring record, he still facilitates. Everybody thinks of LeBron as a smart IQ brain on the court, right? On-court coach. So that's what Caitlin Clark is. Caitlin is Steph with the 3, LeBron with the IQ and the facilitating, man. Within these 2 minutes, Elle has showed more love to Paige than Caitlin Clark's entire rookie season. Elle, you put a lot of mustard on your ketchup on this one. I know this person here is somebody who always just throwing out some crazy nonsense about the W, and she's at it again, man. They announced that, hey, we hired this new head coach, and look what she said. Were there no black women coaches available? The world would not make it too far if everybody was just hiring off of skin color and not competence of the job, okay? Skills. Have more salubrious conversations about the W, man. It'll feel good for you. It's good for the W, okay? And it'll be good for you to stop bringing in race, okay? How do y'all feel about this lady and bringing race into the coaching positions now? Let me know in the comment section. I love y'all. Y'all keep it smooth, man.